Tonight, the best thing about overthrowing a dictator, wearing his hats. What's life really like inside Villawood? The MasterChef contestant inspiring kids just like him, and complaint letters getting you nowhere? Time to start bitching online. This is the 7 PM Project.
Good evening, welcome to the 7 PM Project and welcome back to the desk, Dr. Andrew Rochford. Host of breakfast next year on 10. Congratulations.
Yeah, that's right, thank you. But I'll be here till the end of the year, guys, so don't worry.
Yeah,
sticking around.
Good.
In the meantime, Carrie, what's making headlines?
Well, in the news today, Wednesday the 24th of August, and 3 generations of the same family have been tragically killed in a house fire south of Brisbane. 11 people, including 8 teenagers and children, perished when the fire ripped through the Logan City home last night. 3 men managed to escape.
This is a terrible event. This is a very close-knit community and no doubt they will be heartbroken.
10 News reporter Lisa Rolls is in Logan. Lisa, such a big loss. The local community must be grief-stricken.
They certainly are. You know, just behind me to my left, you've got a couple of hundred Pacific Islanders down here. They're singing songs of prayer. They've been wailing this afternoon. There's tears, comforting each other, trying to find out, make some sense of this horrible tragedy. Now you can see the house behind me. Not long ago they brought out another 2 bodies, so that's 4 for this afternoon. At least 2 of those were children. Now I can tell you that we were standing here, and as news crews, we sit back and we watch, and we all had tears in our eyes as we watched families go up, relatives go up to those body bags in the back of the hearse and lay prayer mats, and then as the doors closed, there was one man who just threw himself on top of that hearse. He didn't want to let it go, and another lady who just trailed behind it. It's just heartbreaking.
Absolutely. Now, 3 men did survive. How did they get out?
Well, 2 of them are fathers, and we're told through relatives that they smashed windows. One of them, he lost his wife and 5 children in that fire. Now, he smashed the window, he threw mattresses on the ground to try and break the fall for when they jumped. He's told friends and relatives that he jumped first, and then he called out for his wife and his children, but they didn't follow him.
Absolutely devastating. Lisa, thank you so much for the update tonight.
Thank you.
Some more news now, and an assault charge against NRL star Benji Marshall has been thrown out. Marshall was accused of punching Solomon Namey in Sydney's CBD, but the judge ruled it couldn't be proved beyond reasonable doubt that Marshall caused his injuries.
Yeah, it's been a pretty tough time and I'm really looking forward to getting on with it, and like I said, very, very pleased with the outcome.
The Health Services Union says an independent investigation into embattled Labor MP Craig Thomson has found enough evidence to suggest he could have misused the union's funds. It says it'll open its books to New South Wales Police, who are considering launching an investigation.
There was actually a story about the Health Services Union today in the paper saying that they were broke, yeah? Right. But a spokesperson for the union really cleared that up.
The union is not in financial crisis. The union had trouble, paying accounts from time to time, but it doesn't mean that, we're going broke.
Sometimes they just forget their PIN number.
We're not broke, we're just disorganised.
Exactly.
And a new survey's found that men are more optimistic about the future than women. It found women are more pessimistic about the economy and the environment and are just generally more miserable than blokes. That is so unfair.
No, it's true.
We're too busy doing everything for everybody else. We don't have time to be
This is exactly what they're talking about, Carrie. Just this attitude.
I swear to God, my wife couldn't sleep one night. I said, "What's wrong?" She said, "I'm worried there's going to be a world war and my brother and father won't be able to get some insulin."
What?
They're diabetic.
That's a tough
I don't think it's that complicated. I think the main difference is that men know no matter what happens in their life, they're never going to be expected to bear children.
No, you know what? Todd sums it up perfectly. He said, we see the future differently. Women gaze into a crystal ball, men gaze into a glass of beer. And maybe if you spent less time at the pub and more time at home, we'd be happy.
Less of this, less of this.
I think Todd knows. I think Todd's wife knows that he's on Twitter writing that.
Not all women are pessimistic, though. There's one woman today I want to celebrate. She, a car went into her shop front, all right? So have a look at the vision here. Poor woman, car would go into the shop front, and listen to how she explained it to the reporter.
It was pretty devastating to turn up and find a 4-wheel drive in your shop.
Yeah, it certainly was a bit of a surprise. That's not normally how I'd like to see my display window.
I'm pretty low-key about it, right?
Now to Libya, and after months of struggle to overthrow Gaddafi, today rebels claim the country is on the brink of democracy.
Colonel Muammar Gaddafi, conceited nutbag or evil despot? Let's investigate.
Things the West liked about Gaddafi: his opposition to extreme Islam, oil, his unique dress sense, oil, his team of hot female bodyguards, and of course, oil. Things the West wasn't so keen on: his implication in the Lockerbie bombing, his support of the IRA attacks on Britain, his crimes against humanity charges, and his unique dress sense. After 8 long months of bloodshed and battles, Libyan rebels are today claiming victory, having stormed Gaddafi's compound. In fact, storming Gaddafi's bedroom.
I was like, oh my God, I'm in Gaddafi's room. Oh my God. But then this thing happened. I found this. I was like, oh my goodness.
Gaddafi reigned for 42 long years, one of the longest standing dictators in history. That reign now appears to be over. So as rebels prepare for the end game, where to next for the embattled country? Where exactly has Gaddafi gone? And more importantly, what will he be wearing in exile? Waleed Ali is lecturer in politics and a good friend of the 7pm Project. Now, in all seriousness, Waleed, Egypt managed to oust their leader in just 3 weeks. How come it's taken so long for Libya to get rid of Gaddafi?
Well, it's kind of like you've just seen there. I mean, it's because Gaddafi's a nut, frankly, and was prepared to take it far further than Mubarak did, actually start a civil war and kill as many people as he possibly could. He almost saw it as a sport, you'd think. So he was prepared to do that, which meant that it dragged out a long time. But also, he's not stupid. And it's important to remember that, because you can look at him and say he's crazy, but he's not dumb.
So now that his wardrobe has been raided and it seems like Tripoli has been taken, is there any chance that he's going to give himself up?
No, he's not going to give himself up. In fact, he's out there now, or his family's out there saying that this is tactical. He's let these rebels come and raid his compound, and it's all part of the plan. But there's no way he's going to give up. If he can figure out a way to drag this out longer and try to hang on to power, he will.
Waleed, where do you think he is?
I've got no idea where he is, and nobody else does. But I reckon with him, it's got to be somewhere crazy. You know, there's very few people that are going to want to take him in. This is the thing. And about his only friend in the world, his best friend in the world is Silvio Berlusconi from Italy, who's just about as mad as him. So that would be a very interesting pairing. Although I don't think that Berlusconi would actually take Gaddafi in, because I don't think Gaddafi's good looking enough for him.
Waleed, what happens next for Libya?
Yeah, look, it could get really ugly from here, and this is actually something that people need to think about, I reckon. It's one thing to say, well, the dictator's gone and isn't that wonderful, but there's no one in charge of this group of rebels. In fact, the rebels themselves said when they were fighting in Tripoli, there was no one commanding them. There was no one actually who was the unified voice for them or giving them instructions. It was just a group of people. And so what that means is that there's no one in control. Now that Gaddafi's gone, there's no political culture. You've had a dictatorship for 42 years. There are no parties. There's just no modern history of politics in the place. So absolutely anything could happen. We could see this descend into another civil war, or we could see it sort of fumble along and work out okay. It's a bit of a mess.
Waleed, I think Libya is going to be safe from now on. I'm very confident. I've got some evidence. I'm going to show you some of the celebrations. I don't believe there's going to be any bullets left, all right? So I think they'll be safe.
Yeah, they've got security sorted, I reckon. What you saw there is probably the future of the Libyan police.
Waleed, great to chat to you as always. We'll see you again soon.
All right, thanks for having me.
I quite like the idea, though, that when a leader gets toppled, everyone gets to raid their wardrobe. Can you imagine when Kevin Rudd got elected, if we all got like a John Howard tracksuit to go out?
Well, the best thing would be is if John Howard had a gold-plated AK-47 like Gaddafi had.
I want to go back to what Gaddafi had, because the guy who got his hat also got something else, and it's intrigued me.
Mr Al-Windi, who has Colonel Gaddafi's hat on his head, Colonel Gaddafi's, well, I don't know what you call this, but it's a sort of a Masonic sort of bushy thing that he used to throw around.
Any Middle East experts, if you can Twitter in, what is the bushy thing?
Isn't it a feather duster?
I know.
Yeah. I don't know. It looks fancy.
You would know what one of those are.
Yeah, Gaddafi was mad for dusting.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in a moment.
Coming up, your chance to win a brand new Mitsubishi. And got something to complain about? Send it to the world. You're watching the 7pm Project.
Welcome back to the project, Dave. Bit of Qantas news.
Yeah, they announced their profit today, $250 million, but they're shedding 1,000 jobs. And the unions have got a theory about where Qantas's money is going, but the CEO had something to say about that today.
Qantas subsidising Jetstar is another one of these great conspiracy theories. It's not real, it's not true.
He went on to talk about other conspiracy theories that he likened that one to.
I think this is in line with the moon landing conspiracy theory, that we didn't land on the moon. It's in line with UFOs in Area 51. It's in line with Elvis is alive and well and serving a McDonald's somewhere in Manly.
My question is, are the unions the whack jobs or is Ellen a whack job?
Hit us on Twitter, let us know.
Some more news now, and Amy Winehouse's family says toxicology tests show there was no illegal drugs in the singer's system when she died last month. They say tests show alcohol was present, but it hasn't yet been determined if it played a role in her death.
It's an interesting one. They say illegal drugs. It'll be interesting to see whether there were some legal prescription drugs involved, and maybe it's the wording. We've got to figure out why Amy died. No one knows. They're still trying to figure it out.
Choice of words there. And Choice says angry consumers are venting their frustrations on Facebook, Twitter and online forums. And apparently it's actually working, with businesses more likely to take note and try and solve your problem to avoid more negative publicity.
I am furious about this. Do not have a complaints department on your website if you're going to listen to these cowboys on Facebook and Twitter, because I'm complaining directly to you all the time.
Why are your complaints worth listening to?
Why my judicious use of caps?
A lot of people complain about this show. Yeah. One of the complaints last time was I say yeah too much. And I just said it there.
We had some feedback from Sandra, who says complaining online doesn't get results, but hey, it makes you feel better. So here to that.
It will be difficult for you, Charlie, to complain about people complaining on Facebook. Do you tweet about that?
Who do I complain to about it?
I haven't figured it out.
Zuckerberg? I don't know.
In our web poll today, we asked, how do you vent your consumer complaints? 41% go direct to the company, 23% take to social networking, 36% indulge in pointless moaning.
That is what we call the Bickmore percentile.
I think you're in there as well, Charles.
Some more news now, and asylum seekers from 2 different detention centres have been transferred to Christmas Island in the past 24 hours to ease tension there after threats were made to staff. And it again raises questions about the unseen conditions inside Australia's detention centres.
Currently, there are 6,403 people living in Australia's detention centres at an annual cost of more than $770 million. Asylum seekers will spend an average of 316 days locked behind bars, in conditions few Australians ever see. Australia's most troubled facility, the Villawood Detention Centre in Sydney's southwest, is where many of the most difficult to manage asylum seekers are sent. In the past, conditions within the facility have been criticised by the Human Rights and Equal Opportunities Commission, labelling Villawood as the most prison-like of all of Australia's detention centres. Over the years, it's led to a number of hunger strikes, riots and protests, with detainees taking their message to the rooftops, much to the frustration of the government.
This sort of behaviour is not acceptable and won't be tolerated.
So what's life like behind the barbed wire at Sydney's Villawood Detention Centre, where 343 detainees currently